All right. Let's settle down. It's just crypto. I am Just, but my mama call me Justin. Welcome to another DFK video. As you can see from my screen, the Coliseum is out. This is the first actual structured video that I've done since PvP release, though I have several planned. After kind of waiting seeing for, I guess it's been a couple months now. Almost 2 months? I don't know. I'm not looking it up. Don't fact check me. Regardless, it's been a minute. PvP is out. People are playing. Some really awesome matches have taken place. Some really cool esports moments have taken place. There's a competitive league, and the game is fun. But there's an asterisk on that word fun. It's not always fun. In level 20 fights, where everybody's trying really hard, sometimes players are just not matched up in a way that can make a fun game. They're basically dead before it starts, or they're trying to figure out if they get to use a potion before they die. Regardless, by turn 2, it's wrapped up. And that was to be expected. I think we all knew that these NFTs were used are highly variable in terms of power level. And while play skill can definitely turn the tide of some battles that are close-ish, it does not matter in some other battles that are not particularly close. So what we need is to match up players, or more specifically, the NFTs those players own, to facilitate as many close, fun matches as possible. Unfortunately, the game currently does not help with this hardly at all. What you can do, and what people do, if they're not just playing level 20s, is go in here to the advanced settings and make the max hero level something. And basically, this is based on what the heroes you have in your wallet. You can do this. You can make it so that require all unique classes. You can do all sorts of stuff. No dark summon, whatever, specify it how you want. And then you can sit there and wait for 48 hours, and it probably will not fill. Because in order for it to fill, somebody has to be seeing this, reading all this, saying, hey, I have heroes like that. I want to play this game. I'm free in 18 hours, and the chances of that happening organically are just extremely small. You can basically put out some feelers and get into some chats for guilds or the PvP section and try to figure out that sort of thing and find some similarly minded players who think that's how the game should be played and have a little more success that way, but good luck. Mostly people are just going to do the same thing for whatever they want. That's what we see in the PvP bout trucker section that Zelly's made. Shout out Zelly's, as always. It is awesome. But people are just making matches based on what they have. Like, that's what I've done as well. And excluding all that stuff about, non-dark summoned, rarity, whatever, just in terms of level. 12, 11, 10. Here's a 13. Keep going. How long you want to do this for? It's all different numbers. Basically, you're picking a random number based on the heroes that you have in your wallet that you want to play and hoping 16. That somebody else feels exactly the same way and they are willing to play when you're willing to play. You set it at a certain time. But yeah, you're just throwing out your feelers. It's like that thing in fantasy football where you're like, Bryce Young, and if you look at the past 4 weeks, he's a top 11 quarterback on third down or whatever. Like, top 11 means 11. Nobody is ever saying top 11 when they're number 8. So, we're making a match based on exactly what we are. 13 because we have level 13s, not because we're going to put in level 12s and 11s there and we think 13 is the right number. But we've seen a lot of this lately. I've done a lot of this lately because I want to explore, because I'm a little sick of the highest level JCL type matches at level 20, even though I have the stuff to do it. Other people who don't have the equipment that I'm fortunate enough to have, Scally's Eyes, all the amulets, all the whatevers you want, they just want to play. So that makes a lot of sense. That's why we're seeing lower than level 20 games pop up, because people want to play. People want to try out all the builds. We're a little limited, but there are a number of builds to try out. The Dagger Warrior, the Bleed Warrior, the Holy Wrath Prayer of Might Spell Priest, the Defensive Knight builds. You have to play the game in order to experience this, in order to appreciate the esports aspect of the highest level. If you cannot play the highest level and there is no place for you in terms of getting in reps, the esports experience is going to be much less. So people are trying to do their own things, but we need guidance. We need guidance in the game. That's what I'm going to call for. I'm going to put this in written form after. I have a very simple, which is easy for me to say, thing that the team can do. By team, I guess I mean Beetle Dude, to create some guidance in the client for where to aim for with your heroes, because not everybody is going to be able or be willing to aim for the highest level, and that's okay. I have been marinating on this video for quite a while now, over a month, because originally I wanted to label it the UX debt, talk about the way that PvP was released and the sacrifices they gave up in terms of user experience and how they were going to pay it back. I was, I guess, most concerned when I saw the priorities list, and if you take this at straight value as to these are the first 4 things that are going to come out, not knowing what bannermen were at the time, these other 3, tournaments, GDE, durability, do nothing to close the gap, nothing to make enfranchised players that feel like they don't have a place at the highest level have a place. In fact, I would say the gap would have even widened if they had just gone along with this, but they have not. They have released the Shells mechanic. They have announced the scrub fight essentially is what bannermen are. They get it. They show off the lower levels. They want people to play the lower levels. The equipment was designed for lower levels to be played. We just need some guidance. Somebody needs to decide what the number is instead of scrolling the Discord and having 5 different numbers for things that you can play between 10 and 16. Like I just showed. People have started doing this on their own, but it needs to be official. It needs to be in the client for it to stick. Here we see a couple of weeks ago, Digital Sniper, shout out to him. He used to be a Fight Club player. trying to get something off the ground in terms of lowest level power level possible. My friend and guildie, Sir Worm, along with Emerson, have been doing lower powered bouts with commons and uncommons on their stream What the DFK. So this is a natural thing for people to do, is kind of just make the formats that they want to play. But if everybody does this differently, and if there's no uniform, we're just going to be too spread out, because there's just not enough players to facilitate everything. So we kind of just need to decide on the number. And that's what I mean by weight classes. Those of you who know me know that I love a weight class discussion. Here's me, formerly known as Bob Nothing, along with ADFK and Inner Grove, talking about weight classes in Fight Club 2 years ago. The same principles that we were talking about then still apply. Shout out Sandwich Punch. Please come back. But anyways, the exact same thing happened in Fight Club that we're seeing now for DFK PVP. They released Fight Club originally. It was wide open. Everybody could just use whatever heroes they had. The most powerful heroes they had is, of course, what everyone selected. And some of the games were really good when there was even matchups, but a lot of them were not that good. And people got eventually bored of playing even the really good games because it was just too wide open. Sometimes less is more. With gaming, a lot of times less is more. A lot of what we discussed on that Inner Grove podcast was broader than Fight Club, about the problems that DFK would probably and has experienced with non-fungible tokens as their assets. Most games, by design, have players on an exactly equal playing ground, because when you are unequally matched to a large degree, it is very unfun to lose, and worst of all, it is very uninformative to lose that badly. There's nothing to learn from getting in there with level 20 potatoes and dying on turn 1. Aside from, optimistically speaking, this opponent was not for me, this format was not for me, I need to find a different opponent that's more equally matched, a different format that's more conducive to the NFTs I have. But pessimistically speaking, that sort of user experience can lead people just to conclude, rather logically, this game is not for me. There's no room for me. And that's the biggest problem I've seen so far, so much as there is one from the PvP rollout. It has been a strategy to be top heavy, both in PvE and PvP, and then work our way down. We see them already taking steps to fill the gap in PvE with the scrub fights. I think that's a great idea. You build up from scrub fights to the boar hunt, to the buck hunts, to PvP. I think is the theory, but I think there also needs to be a bridge from kind of lower value NFT PvP all the way up to the top, because that's what's going to get people involved in the combat system. That's what's going to motivate people to strive to be one of the people competing in the esports arena, Coliseum, high level stuff, as opposed to just watching. You need to have kind of upward mobility. You need to start somewhere and then go to the next rung and then go to the next rung. Whereas right now it's basically just play level 20s, probably get smashed most of the time if you just do the public queues, or you can create a bout with the advanced settings based on just what you have and hope somebody also has the same thing and wants to play you. I really want to hone in for the rest of this video on exactly what I think they should do ASAP in order to improve and standardize the sub-level 20 combat. Basically, what's the number? You know, I have reasons that make sense to me in terms of how the skill tiers work, the armor level requirements work, the weapon strength requirements work. Skill tiers in DFK go level 3, you get tier 2, level 7, you get tier 3, 10, you get tier 4, 15, you get tier 5, so that should be taken into account. The armor is easier to deal with. Lowest level that can wear armor is 3, then you get an upgrade at 6 and 10 in terms of wearing stuff, and also at 10 you can wear the hunt accessories. The mythic ones anyways, that you get as a regular drop, not the limited time stuff. But basically, if you're a melee hero, warrior, knight, berserker, you should probably have enough strength to do most of the weapons, but definitely if you go low enough, you'll have trouble without a might stone of some sorts equipping something like a Gorax. But what's more important, in my opinion, is the caster hunt. This is probably the most important. So caster, I mean seer and priest. The hunt weapons, meaning gore, staff, and drumstick, have a requirement for 10 strengths, which is not a given for casters. To a lesser extent, you can certainly have archers that don't get the required 14 or 15 strength to be using the squire bow or the gore bow, which is really what you want if you're going to bother bridging it and putting it into a PvP bout, unless we're talking very low level combat. So let's look at two options that I think are pretty intuitive that we've seen people using already. Myself, I've been using option B. If you've been watching what I've been posting, mostly 16, 12s, and 8s, just to kind of test the format. I do have a bunch. Most of my hunters are actually level 15, sitting on 16, ready to level up. So I don't really care that much between the two. I think option B is better, and I'm going to tell you why here, but it's close. It doesn't really matter. Also, the terminology doesn't really matter. I think weight classes make sense, because we're having humanoid pugilists, gaining levels, gaining mass. I guess that's what gaining HP means. I think the analogy works. You could also call it, mythic tier, legendary tier, rare tier, etc. But we've already done that to delineate other things such as pets and dual rewards and squads and swaps and etc. I think we're kind of mythiced out at this point, so it'd be more confusing than saying heavyweights for 20s. And then for now, adding 3 basic tiers below that for people to play who do not want to play 20s, I think is a good idea. I think it's something we could do almost immediately. It's really just a matter of picking a number and putting it in the client, and then that's just what people get used to. That's what people play. Let's look at Carly for a second. This is a failed dark summon. I forget what I was going for, didn't get it, but she leveled up quite well. She has basic skills that I enjoy. I enjoy playing this hero. Am I going to win the JCL with this hero? No. Can I just keep killing box and boars with it? Yes, but I would prefer to play this in a PvP environment. This does a lot of things I want to do with a knight. It's just a good hero, not a great hero. There needs to be a place for something like this. I have other Carly-like heroes sitting at 15, holding 16 right now, just basically wanting a direction. They can bridge to the Colosseum, load up some armor and some weapons, and just battle. Many such cases. Look at this gal. She looks cool as hell. She's got a white bushy tail, blue hair. She was supposed to get some elite traits, I believe, with a uncommon floor, but she didn't. Why would I dark summon this? I want to use it. Why would I just pick forage stuff with it? She leveled up good on HP, and she looks cool as hell. I want to play. I want there to be a place for this. It's at level 10. I need to know, is this place going to be level 10? Is it going to be level 12? Whatever. I just need a point of reference to aim for with heroes like this that I'm leveling up, that I want to play with, because you can only go forward, you can't go backwards in levels, as we know. So if there was a standardized place at 12, I would know where I need to go. Or if it's at 10, I would know I can just stop right now. There's just too many heroes, and there's too few that matter at the high level. Like, this is my JCL team. Not the best, not the worst, but like, so many of the heroes, 99 point, pick some number of nines, of my heroes, of all heroes, are just not going to be able to find a spot at the high level. So what do we do with them? Do we just not play? Do we gather materials or influence forever? Do we kill hunt box forever? We have been finding out who does and who doesn't necessarily want to play PvP now that it's here. It's perfectly fine to speculate, perfectly fine to farm, screw around in Discord. Those are all valuable members of the DFK community, but I want to make content and spend my time that I have to game playing. Now, to reiterate something I said earlier, I believe, unless I edited that out, I do think the highest rewards, the highest prestige should be reserved for heavyweights for two good reasons. A, to reward people who are doing what they were quote unquote supposed to in terms of leveling their heroes up. But the second reason, which is not really a sure thing, is that if this is available with the most rewards, with the most prestige, with the most incentive to get to 20, and you summon something, double giant slayer, trans traits or whatever, there's no real reason for you to, unless you just really, really want to win at lightweight, level it up to 10 and then bridge it and then just keep it there, as opposed to leveling up to 20 where it kind of should be. Because the second you incentivize somebody to make the best level 12s possible, for example, if there were a huge tournament, guess what's going to happen? Greater Stone, Mythic, Bomb traits, Greater Crystals, Atomic Crystals. We're at level 12, ready to bang, boys. And the disparity between the haves and have-nots will probably not be as wide as level 20s, but it will be wide enough to where those level 12s will win face roll against just kind of casual teams that I would like to see have their place here. Have somewhere to play where they're just not going to get steamrolled like that. But if it's incentivized to do so, players are going to respond to incentives. All right, so to move away from that, now that we've discussed why I think it's important that we have weight classes, so we have, a place to aim for when you summon a hero, determine its aptitude, and find a spot for it, specifically a spot where you have the expectation that other people are doing the same thing, and therefore you will have people to fight. Let's get into these subtle differences between these two options. I don't think the difference between these two options are as important as the presence of weight classes, but we might as well get it right the first time, measure twice, cut once, all that. So let's go bottom to top, actually. We are subtracting 5 each time here, subtracting 4 each time here. You figured that out, right? We could put welterweight in between middleweight and lightweight, but I guess not everybody watches UFC and would know that that's where that goes. So I think it makes sense to have lightweight be either 10 or 12 because the game is fully featured at those levels. You can use all of the hunt accessories and armor. You can use pretty much all of the weapons at that point, depending on RNG, and you can use all of the skills except for the tier 5, whereas when you go lower than 10, you are precluding yourself from a significant amount of gear, and you only have 3 of the 5 tiers, so it's kind of a truncated gameplay experience, I would say. So if you're going to go below 10, I think it's fine to figure out something lower than lightweight, featherweight, atomweight, bantamweight, I don't know, strawweight, whatever they are. I'm just going to stop here, but you could go 1 tier lower if you wanted to. Okay, going down by increments of 5, we're on the same rarity bonus level, like 15, 10. That's when you get your legendary, mythic, whatever bonuses. Not that that matters too much. I didn't put it here, but something to think about. If you wanted to, you could go 9, 14 to kind of mitigate that bonus, but I don't think at this point in the game we want to be doing that. What's more important is how it fits in with skills and armor. And I have a question mark next to this 5 because that does not fit very well, does it? At level 5, you can't use the 2nd tier of armor and you can't use the 3rd tier of skill. Whereas if you go down by 4 and you are at level 8, you can use this armor and you can use this skill and you'll be more likely to use your gore weapons. which leads into lightweight. This is actually the reason I like option B. So we could alter this 5 into a 7. I think that makes some amount of sense, but then we've gone -5, -5, -3 like an insane person, where we could have just gone down 4 each time. So I don't know. I think the lowest tier works a lot better for option B, and I think the lightweight tier works a lot better for option B. That's really the main reason I think option B is better than A, is because the subtle difference here between 10 and 12, you might not realize this, or you might not have thought about it like this, but your casters especially, priests, seers, I don't know, personally, I want to be using my weapons. They're what, $5 to $10 at this point, you know, not including the bows or mythic stuff. So yeah, I want to have weapons on my guys, like whatever. I've been hunting forever. They're cool. I want to use them. And I would prefer to save the squire stuff for lower levels or for scrub fights personally. So at level 10, I just showed you poor Merla here, who to no fault of her own has only 9 strength. And this is a pretty common occurrence. Both the priest and the seer only have 30% growth stat for strength. And if you have a good subclass, such as a seer subclass or summoner or something like that, it's even harder to get to 10, you know, naturally, unless you're putting points there. And let me tell you, I'm not a fan of that. If you think going 5, 5, 3 bothers me in this series of numbers, how much do you think it bothers me putting secondary points into strength just so I can hold a damn staff? So the difference between 10 and 12 is not small, but if it's somewhat arbitrary, which I believe the difference between 10 and 12 is somewhat arbitrary, the difference between 16 and 15 is somewhat arbitrary, I might as well give a wide enough berth so that as many of the priests and seers get to 10 strength organically, and the archers get to at least 14 strength to use a squire bow. You really don't want to run out there with a maple bow, right? I just showed you this level 16 archer with 13 strength, and it has a berserker subclass, so like, shit happens, man. Does 12 guarantee you're going to get there? No? Look at this idiot. I was like, oh great, legendary, greater stone, let's go, leveling up, leveling up, leveling up. Got myself 3 legendary rarity bonuses. That's 21 random stats. Got a thief subclass, which is better than, you know, one of the caster subclasses in terms of strength, but nothing is guaranteed. I have 8 strength at level 14. Me and my stupid maple staff are just going to stay down here and keep trying. Hopefully at level 15 we get it with the rarity bonus. Nothing is guaranteed. But what is guaranteed is that if lightweight is at 12 instead of 10, there will be less heroes like I'm showing here that cannot hold a gore staff, or a demon's drumstick, or a squire bow. The difference between 15 and 16? Negligible, in my opinion. I would like to see option B implemented as soon as possible with a button where you click middleweight and only your level 16 or below heroes are available. Lightweight for 12, featherweight for 8. You know what, let's do one more. Clean this up and make it as clear as possible. I think there's plenty of play to be had at 4. I'm not as interested in that, but that doesn't mean I should preclude it. Like I said, measure twice, cut once. Good idea. At 4, you have 2 tiers of skills. You're able to wear armor. Not that interesting to me, but some people that are, you know, beginners might find it very interesting way to learn the combat system. So I think we should include that too. These 5 play modes would include a lot of heroes for everybody to opt in or opt out of. You can just keep playing heavyweight forever, of course. Obviously, I think that goes without saying. You can just ignore all this. But I think for a lot of the players that are feeling a bit, you know, I don't know, alienated might be the word. I think these other 4 weight classes would go a long way. 2 more things to briefly discuss while we're here that I don't think are necessary at the beginning of adding more weight classes, but might be a forward-thinking thing to include. One is level ranges, meaning in this advanced settings screen where you could do minimum hero level for, let's say, middleweight, 15, maximum hero level 17, and then we would need just another number here to have total levels available per team, basically, which in this case for middleweight would be 16 times 3, 48 total levels. This would help if you accidentally leveled a hero you really like to 17, so you could play 17, 16, 15 instead, and it'd be at no real disadvantage. And I can tell you from past experience in Fight Club, you do need to have this range in addition to the average 16 levels or 48 level cap, because without this, in 48 levels, you can do 20, 28 for hero levels, and that's just a whole different type of thing that we don't really want to deal with. So you do need the range, and then something else here for total levels equals 48. I think that would be a good way to do middleweight as well, although a little bit more complicated. For lightweight, it would be 11, 13, and then 36. You get it? And then the final consideration is restrictions, kind of a sliding scale, I think, when you go down. Heavyweight, wide open, middleweight, maybe some small restrictions, just getting rid of like transcendent traits or something, just get those up to heavyweight. Lightweight, more restrictions, maybe get rid of the mythic rarity, maybe get rid of greater stones, and then just gradually go down until we're very basic, you know, common, uncommon, like just if you're going to play atom weight, I guess just don't like do a greater stone mythic, you know, something enforceable like that for when you clicked like featherweight, it would automatically populate some restrictions. And this I do not think we should do right now, because I don't know the answer to that. What I just said is very speculative and haven't put all that much thought into it. All I'm going to propose we do as soon as possible is have at least 3 sub 20 weight classes. Doesn't need to be these numbers. I've said why I think they make sense. If I get overruled and we like the 15, 10, 7, 4, maybe, I think would work decently, I will find my 15s and 10s and equip them and see you in the Coliseum. I'm also going to suggest the level ranges just to ease the transition for those who may feel a little bit salty if they're just outside of the weight classes. But yeah, I think we should do this. I think we should get it going with buttons to press and populate your available heroes based on these weight classes so that people can start planning out their heroes where they want to go and just get these battles firing, man. You know, in my opinion, that should be the goal here. Get as many people playing as many fights as possible. And I think if you give this a chance, if you're an enfranchised player that's been avoiding PvP because heavyweight was too daunting, you will have fun here. And it's not going to cost you very much. To get an uncommon or rare floor with like a regular stone, it doesn't cost you that much if you're not leveling it all the way to 20. The game is better now than when it released 2 months ago. It's going to be better in 2 months than it is now. Good times are ahead. The game engine is good. The gameplay is good. The hard part is done. They just need to sprinkle in some more UX upgrades as they're developing tournaments, as they are widening the classes available and adding features like that, and it's going to be all good. Okay, so that's it. I'm going to be in the Coliseum battling. I'm going to be on Discord chatting. I'm going to start recording and commentating matches, which I will outline shortly in a video to come. But until then, peace out.